So now we will see the inguinal canal. What is this inguinal canal? It is situated above the medial half of the inguinal ligament, and it is a musculo-aponeurotic tunnel, that is partly muscular and partly aponeurotic, above and parallel with the medial half of the inguinal ligament. It's about 4 centimeter in length. Extends from the deep inguinal ring to the superficial inguinal ring. So this is the very important point the student should note. This canal is not in one plane. It is from deep to superficial. So that is the importance of this canal. The direction of the canal is downward, forwards and medially. How this canal develops? Actually, the canal is developing because of the differentiation of the muscles of the anterior abdominal wall around an inguinal fold of peritoneum, which contains the gubernaculum testis or ovary during the descent of the respective sex organ. That means first this processus vaginalis along with the gubernaculum testis is running in this anterior abdominal wall. So the muscles are then developing around this. So leaving this path. That's how this canal is formed. Otherwise, this canal is formed before the descent of the testis. What are the contents of the inguinal canal? The spermatic cord in males, round ligament of the uterus in females. So just now we told these are all forming first and the muscles are developing around this. And the one nerve which is the partial content of the canal, that means this nerve does not pass through both rings. That's why it is called partial content of the canal. Ilioinguinal nerve. So now we will move on to the boundaries of the canal. The canal presents anterior and posterior walls, roof and floor, inlet and outlet. So this walls, you should understand that is this canal is extending from deep to superficial. So if you go on dissecting these muscles one by one, you will not see the canal at all. Otherwise, how you have to imagine this canal is, you have to take 3 sheets of paper in front of you, one behind the other. Just pierce this from the last paper to the first paper. That's how this canal is present. So that's the understanding the student should get, then only they can understand the boundaries. Anterior wall of the canal entirely formed by the aponeurosis of the external oblique. Then if you reflect, in the lateral 1/3 by the fleshy fibers of the internal oblique muscle. So that is given by 2 arrows in this picture. Posterior wall of the canal entirely formed by the fascia transversalis, that is given by this red arrow. Medial half by the conjoined tendon. Then medial 1/4 by the reflected part of the inguinal ligament. So these are the anterior and posterior walls. Roof of the canal is formed by the arched fibers of internal oblique and transversus abdominis. If you see all these boundaries, it will be formed again and again by these three muscles only. That's how we told in the beginning. Three flat muscles you have to pierce from last to the first. So they will form naturally all these boundaries in front, roof, floor of the canal by the grooved upper surface of the inguinal ligament and by the upper surface of lacunar ligament medially. So we have finished this anterior, posterior walls and the roof on the floor. Now we will see the inlet and outlet. Inlet is the deep inguinal ring. Then what is the outlet? Another ring, superficial inguinal ring. So what is this deep inguinal ring? It's an oval gap in the fascia transversalis about 1.25 centimeter above the midinguinal point. So this inlet, this deep inguinal ring and superficial inguinal rings may be asked as separate brief answers. So we have to prepare us for very short answers. So it is a gap in the fascia transversalis. What is the shape of this ring? Oval. Situation 1.25 centimeter above the midinguinal point. So students should note what is midinguinal point and what is the midpoint of the inguinal ligament. So there is a slight difference between these two. That's a very important clinical point you should note. And medial to this deep inguinal ring is the inferior epigastric artery. Again, this is the surgical important point for the students. So this inferior epigastric artery you have to dissect in your surgery and you have to identify whether this neck of the hernial sac passes in this deep inguinal ring, then medially inferior epigastric artery will be present. Otherwise, artery you have to dissect and see whether the neck of the hernial sac is medial or lateral. Then only you can confirm your diagnosis of direct or indirect inguinal hernia in the surgical table. Outlet of the canal. Outlet of the canal you can see in the image, that is the superficial inguinal ring. What is it? It's a triangular gap in the aponeurosis of the external oblique. So deep inguinal ring we told oval gap and this is the triangular gap. Situation above and lateral to the pubic crest. What is pubic crest? It's the upper border of the body of pubis. So this is this pubic crest above and lateral to this we have this superficial inguinal ring. Measurements of the ring: apex to the base 2.5 centimeter. At the base width is 1.25 centimeter. Superficial inguinal ring is as if like formed by two crura. You can see in the image one crura medially and one crura laterally. So that is, we are telling us one crura is attached to the pubic symphysis and another crura is attached to the pubic tubercle. That's how it is just above the pubic crest. Structures passing through the superficial inguinal ring are the ilioinguinal nerve, spermatic cord in the males, or round ligament of the uterus in the females. So already there is a canal, existing inguinal canal in this region. Then what are the defective mechanisms of the inguinal canal? So normally all the persons will not have the hernia. So some defense mechanisms present in this inguinal canal. What are the defense mechanism? One is flap wall mechanism. What is this flap wall mechanism is the situation of the inguinal rings are at two different places so that the canal is oblique in direction. So, in increased intra-abdominal pressure during coughing or any other causes, the posterior wall of the canal is pushed forwards and comes in contact with the anterior wall, so that obliterates the canal like a flap valve. So, that is the flap valve mechanism. Then, what is this shutter valve mechanism? The construction of the canal is such that opposite the deep ring, the anterior wall is strengthened by the fleshy fibers of the internal oblique muscle. Opposite the superficial ring, the posterior wall is strengthened by the conjoint tendon. So, where there is a gap, it is strengthened by the some other mechanisms. Ball valve mechanisms. What is this ball valve mechanisms? That is, in increased intra-abdominal pressure, the cremaster muscle in male contracts and pulls the testis towards the superficial ring so that the outlet of the canal is closed like a plug. So, this is the ball valve mechanisms. One more is as if the arched fibers of the internal oblique and transverses act as demi-sphincters and obliterate the canal by bringing the roof in contact with the floor of the canal. So many defensive mechanisms exist normally in the humans so that to defend this canal. Applied anatomy of the inguinal canal. Inguinal hernia. So all these defensive mechanisms are somewhat failing, causing the inguinal hernia. What is this inguinal hernia? Abdominal content covered by a sac of peritoneum enters the inguinal canal. That is called inguinal hernia. Apart from the normal structures, abdominal content covered by a sac of peritoneum entering the canal. There are two types, direct and indirect inguinal hernia. Indirect or oblique or congenital hernia. What is this? You should remember is it is same like the testis or the spermatic cord in the canal. So that through that already existing pathway, this hernia will come. So that hernia will be called as indirect, and usually it is congenital. So as the cause is the hernial sac is preformed due to the persistence of the processus vaginalis of the peritoneum. So in the embryological development, this processus vaginalis of peritoneum will develop and guide the testis to descend into the scrotum. And then it is obliterating normally. If it is not obliterating, persistence of this processus vaginalis causes this indirect or congenital inguinal hernia. The contents enter the canal through the deep ring. So same like our testis has descended, spermatic cord is present from deep to superficial inguinal ring. Same like this hernial contents will be present. How to identify in surgeries? The neck of the hernial sac lies lateral to the inferior epigastric artery. So these are the various types of the oblique inguinal hernia. They are the vaginal type, funicular type, infantile type and interstitial type. Vaginal type is the total processes is remaining patent so that the hernia can reach the base of the scrotum in front of testis. So that is the vaginal type. Funicular type is the processes is obliterated above the testis and remains patent in the proximal part. This is the most common type. Infantile type is in front of the hernial sac. A peritoneal recess extends from the vaginal sac as high as the superficial ring. And last type is the interstitial type. It is a diverticulum of the process. It is a rare type, extends between the layers of the developing abdominal wall in one of the following situations. So it is a rare type. So this is what we are explaining. Vaginal, entire patent processus vaginalis, funicular, patent only in the proximal part. This is the most common type. Infantile, peritoneal recess from the vaginal sac. Interstitial, diverticulum of the process in between the layers of the anterior abdominal wall. So this is the infantile type. Direct or acquired hernia. So that is indirect is congenital hernia. This is acquired hernia, direct hernia. Hernia passes through the posterior wall of the inguinal canal. So this point is the important point. The student should note the hernia does not come through the deep inguinal ring. Here it passes through the posterior wall of the inguinal canal. What is that posterior wall? Inguinal triangle of the Hasselbalch. So then how will you identify in your surgeries? The neck of the sac will lie medial to the inferior epigastric artery. The types may be medial or lateral types. So this is the inferior epigastric artery and the deep inguinal ring given. So with this diagram we can orient ourselves to the neck of the hernial sac in relation to the inferior epigastric artery. Coverings of the inguinal hernia. Coverings of the inguinal hernia. In indirect inguinal hernia, same as coverings of spermatic cord. So if you know the coverings of the spermatic cord, then you can tell the coverings of the indirect inguinal hernia. They are the peritoneum, extraperitoneal tissue, internal spermatic fascia, cremastric muscle and fascia, in external spermatic fascia, dartos muscle and skin. So these are the coverings from inner to outer. Coverings of direct inguinal hernia. So the difference is here is the fascia transversalis instead of the previous covering. That red color indicates the difference. Here fascia transversalis will be present. So the remaining will be almost same. So this finishes this topic, inguinal canal, which is an interesting and important surgically oriented topic. If you go to final years, you will be given mainly in the exam inguinal hernia for examination, clinical or surgical examination. So you should identify in the persons or patients whether it is direct or indirect by all these anatomical findings. So I think you should have understood this. We have seen in detail situation, development, contents, boundaries of the canal, defensive mechanism of the canal, then applied anatomy of the inguinal canal.